Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are watching from. Before I start, I'm just here to say I'm not qualified preacher or pastor or priest. I'm not no teacher. I'm not trying to influence anyone in any way. I'm not here to preach or teach. I'm literally here to share an opinion, and it is a subject matter that we all are aware of, and regardless of what you hear, if you agree with it or not, I always say do your own research and do your own research, do your own reading. Everyone's opinions are valid, and go and look for the facts for yourself. Because to me, if you're just going to listen to people and you're not going to do your own research, then you're nothing more than a follower and a sheep, and you're going to be easily swayed, and you're going to be easily influenced by every change, every new news or new trend, and we need to be careful of that. With that said, the subject matter is the Queen. Yes, in my opinion, I've spoken to many of family, friends, relatives alike. I've seen quite a few YouTube videos, go on the internet, and there's different sites that have different opinions. So this is more of an opinion and an encouragement. So as we know, Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, or was it the third? My word, I should have done a bit of research there, shouldn't I? know, but the Queen, Her Majesty, has passed away, and obviously everybody now has an opinion. Her funeral is Monday, the 19th of September, 2022, and as we know, over the past week, we've got a new king. Some people call him Prince Charles still. Some people still call him that name, Prince. Some people acknowledge him as king. Either way, I would encourage anybody to do your history, because the long short of it is, it's facts. What we've seen, I mean, I'm only in my 40s, but my 40 years alive, I've known there's a queen on the throne. I've done my own research to see what she represents. I've heard a lot of elders have their opinion and what she represents to them. I've heard people my age group, so let's say between 35 and 45, without giving away my age, and they've got their opinion. The Queen means something different to them. And then you got the ones between 25 and 35, the Queen means something different to them. Then you got the 15 to 25s. Again, the Queen means something different to them. And then, so each generation will have a different opinion. But one thing, any generation, and not to forget 45s to 55s, 55s to 65s, 65s to 75s, and 75s to 85s. These people, the Queen meant something different to them. But regardless of what, you cannot take away. So if you're between the age of 0, you're just born this afternoon. Well, no, sorry. If you were born on the afternoon of last Wednesday, right, to you were born 71 years ago, in your lifetime, there was a queen on the throne, right? And she served from when she was 25 for 70 years, and she served. That's all you've known. And growing up, the more knowledge you can go and find for yourself, the more news you read or listen to, the more people you speak to and hear their opinions and views, you will have an idea who she was. She's the Queen. She served on the throne for 70 years. Bearing in mind, at the age of 25, she didn't wake up one morning and decide to be Queen. It was literally bestowed upon her. She had to be Queen because she was the next in line. And she served diligently. So, again, I'm 50-50. I'm not telling people how they should think. I'm just sharing some views out there. So let's get into my first opinion, which I've just shared, is that she served. And in my opinion, we should admire that, because, again, she did not choose to be queen. It was this part of her lineage, and she took it from 25 until she was at the old age of 96. And so she served. And for those who are Christians, those who are believers, the Bible says, a woman will do 70. I think she done that in her reign. Let's not forget her life. She was 96 when she passed away. But in her reign, she done the 70 as queen. And that's got to be admired and respected. And so that's me. I believe we should respect her. I believe we should just look at that reign and see what she accomplished in that reign. And that's a lot. Now, let's go on to the next point. The next point of who people say she was. Some people say she's a reptile queen. Some people say she's a reptile queen, sorry. Some people say she was the queen of slavery. So listen, the long short of it is, when you read your news, read your books, when you do your own research, we see her in Buckingham Palace, Belmore, up in Belmore in Scotland. We see her in Windsor Castle. We see her on the news. We see her traveling to countries, shaking people's hand, being a head of state, which was her duty. Did we ever see her enslave someone? No. Did we ever see her say a racist slur at anybody? No. She served as a queen should. So, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, we have to look at the family that disappointed her and the corruption and the scandals that they brought upon her legacy. Do you understand? Remember, this woman served in the war. She helped in the war efforts, and she done her country proud, in my opinion. And she's the head of state of many countries. And as we know, there's many countries that have gone independent. It means the country has chosen not to have her head of state. So my point here, she was such a bad person. If all these reptile and queen of slavery was true, right? How comes there's so many countries that still hold her up as the head of state? And now they've accepted King Charles as the head of state. Some are going to pull out, some are going to stay. Point is, in them 70 years, she served. People acknowledged her as their queen. Her money as her head is her face is on their money, and we have to accept the fact that the matter is, again, you watch the news. Some people say it's there to program us, but if you don't want to watch the news, take a walk out to the River Thames. Take a walk out down to Buckingham Palace. There's a place in Ireland, and let me get this right for political reasons, in Republic of Ireland, right, where there was a memorial. Actually, it was in both places, actually, but there's a memorial of flowers, and they're paying their tribute. If you saw on the news last week, there was a 96 gun salute in different parts of England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. In Gibraltar, there's a 96 gun salute. What's the point here? The point here is people accepted her for her services, and they paid tribute to her. They put flowers there. You don't get that unless you were a good person, because there's a lot of people that could say, well, we know the truth and we're not really going to follow it, but a lot of people did. So here's what I'm trying to say here is, just acknowledge what she did do. Nobody who's pure evil and is a slave driver and represents evil, nobody's going to get that kind of following, because there's enough of us that are smart enough and knowledgeable enough to be able to reject it and say we're not going to be a part of it. But many of us are knowledgeable, many of us are smart, and we are a part of it. We did go and pay our tributes. Me personally, I didn't go and lay flowers, no, but I'm talking about the people out there that are queuing for 8 miles from Southwark Park there in South London, all the way along the Thames, all the way around to Westminster Bridge, around to go to Westminster Abbey and pay their respects. People saying, is she really in a coffin? Well, it doesn't matter. It was what the coffin represents. She's being laid to rest after 70 years of queen. So let me wrap this portion up. We're now I'm coming up to 8 minutes. So let me wrap this up to get to the key point of many I'm going to make, but the key point. Whether you are a Muslim and you read the Quran, there are passages in there that speaks about not judging, about accepting people who they are. I'm not Muslim, so I can't quote the Quran, but I've spoken to some people in the Muslim faith, and they do say, there is stuff in there that says you shouldn't judge people, and who are we to judge, etc., etc. But as a believer in God, in Jesus Christ, I will quote ad-lib, I should say, from the Bible, where it does speak about judgment, and it says, we know the adulterous woman was about to be stoned by the locals, by the villagers, and Christ came along, and his statement, which you all know, is he who is without sin cast the first stone. And I asked the question, did anybody pick up a stone and cast it? No, because they were sinners as well. And the long short of it is, Christ didn't defend her per se, but he stood up for her and said, hey, if you're without sin, then fine, but we all sinners, and we need to learn to forgive. And this is the approach I take with the Queen. Who are we to judge her? Who are we to say who she was? We see on camera, we see live what she done for this country. We see what she achieved as the Queen. We've seen that. Again, if you are 70 and below, that's all we've known. And beforehand, there was stuff that her family did. More on the family later. But the point of the matter is, let's not judge her. She served, right? The majority of the time we see her serving. Put the rumours away. Put the corruption away, and just see what she actually did. Because I'm very sure whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching this, and you're 9.5 minutes in, I would ask you to think to yourself, when you pass away, do you want people to sit down and judge all the wrong you did? With a book, they bring out their phone, their smartphone, they bring out the pen, and they tick off, They're like, right, let's see. Joe Blogs stole carrots at 9, tick. Lied that to their mum at 14. Committed adultery at 21, tick. Murdered at 25, tick. Oh, was a part of what. You should get my point. Do you want someone to do that to you, or do you want someone to remember your legacy and the good things you did? Now, yes, no one's perfect, and I'm not saying the Queen was perfect, but I'm saying pay respects, man. She served, and she served well, and we can't judge her. Well, we shouldn't judge her. I can't say you can't, because we all have our own opinion, and we have a right to do what we're going to do. But what I would encourage right now is, let's not judge her. Let's have a heart and think. This woman at 25 was asked to be queen. She was sworn in. This woman lost her husband recently. This woman is a woman. She's a grandmother, a mother, a sister, a cousin, an auntie. She's a woman who gave birth and served. With that said, I would say, if we're going to judge, if you have to judge, take a look at yourself first. Are you perfect? Take another look at yourself, and let's find on the global earth, they're saying what, 8 billion of us on this planet. Let's find a perfect family. Let's find a 25-year-old who's perfect. And let's ask her, can you now give birth and be perfect and go and live in Buckingham Palace and run a country? And go to how many head states and serve? Could they do it? I'll leave that question open. I'm not going to answer it. I'll let you answer it. So let's I'm 12 minutes in. Let's now look at the family. Yes, the family disgraced there. They've had their scandals, they've had their ups and downs, they've done their wrongs, they've done their rights. We've all seen it. Yes, that's what we've also seen in their reign. We've seen a family that's gone through family squabbles, as families do. The difference between your family, if you are a father watching this, or a mother watching this, or a grandparent watching this, the difference between your family and a royal family is that your family is not on the camera 24/7. Your family have not got a lineage whose duty is to serve the country. We serve our churches, we serve our communities, we serve our jobs, we serve where we serve. But do we serve a country? No. That's what I would say. And if I'm wrong, please put in comments. If you are someone that, you actually do serve and you serve a country, then but by all means, put it in the comments. But you've got a choice to serve or not, and she chose to. So many people right now, if you've listened to coming up to 13 minutes and say it sounds like he's defending the Queen, no, I'm just trying to be on neutral ground. I'm trying to be in the middle and say, yeah, there was wrong in her family. What family has not got wrong? I'm trying to say, when we see her serve, she served. You can read your books, you can read your internet pages, you can see the news, you see the tributes. She done a lot of good, and this can't be ignored. Now, I hear there's a lot of people, the younger crowds, they're not up for it. They don't know what it's about. The older generation will swear blind this was a good woman. So you've got different opinions. And what we'll see is different generations have different opinions. Hence why I've done the age breakdown a bit earlier on this video. So let's just look at the fact that if you don't want to acknowledge the Queen's passing, you don't want to acknowledge King Charles, then why are you spending their money? That's a question I would put out there. And again, I will leave it there. I won't go further into that, because I would like people to now take those kind of questions in their mind. Why are we spending their money? I'm hearing, if you're someone that believes, reparation. Okay, reparation for what? Did she go into these countries and take the slaves and everything? No, she didn't. The establishment she's a part of did in the past. I'm speaking about her 70-year reign. Now, she's head of state. Did she visit them countries and take more things? No. She visited them countries in a peaceful manner and served. As a head of state, if you actually look at the title head of state and see what the duties are, you would see there is a lot of good that represents there. Now, I hear people talk about slavery. We need to go back into the history of slavery, and black people were not enslaved, and that's our history. Now, we have so much more history than the slave trade. We have so much more history that you need to start looking at the people like the Moors. Look at the Roman Empire and what happened to them. Look at the British Empire that became the Commonwealth. Look at the facts before we start judging a queen's 70-year reign. What has she got to do with that? She came a part of the establishment that established that in the past, but her reign, did we ever see her sign a document that says, yeah, keep slavery going? Did we hear her go on television like many people have done and have a racist slur? Did we see her speak down to people? My encouragement here is look at what she done in her service to the country. Again, let's not judge her. Let's just look at what we've seen and then leave it be, because there's nothing we can do to change the past 70 years, and there's nothing we can do to change what the established order is. Because again, if you are a believer, we are encouraged to pray for the authority and those in power, those who are in charge. We are encouraged to pray for the government. So I was about to say king, but no, it says pray for the government and those in power, those leaders. I said to a family member the other day, didn't the Bible tell us to pay Caesar what Caesar's due? And Christ actually said that, and they didn't agree. You know what I mean? But another angle to look at that is we read that in the Bible, yes, but there's many other books out there that actually have that actual incident that happened, that actual point in history did happen. And it's not just the Bible that tells us this. There's many scientific studies and archaeologists and people who study history that said there was a man named Jesus Christ, they acknowledge him, and he did say that there's a man that said we pay what Caesar's due, give back to him what's his. You know, I mean, you can deep down into that Bible story more, and you can look into what people said about that era of time. But the long short of it is, my point to take from this is, we've got to pay our taxes, we've got to pay our way. There is a corrupt government in power, and that government, and it is a corrupt government, not to judge them, but you know what I mean, they're not all squeaky clean. Like the Queen, they might have their faults. They have their faults, I should say. But the long short of it is, they're the ones that are putting the rules in place, and the Queen's head is on the money that we spend, and we need to pay taxes when we earn that money. Do I agree with it? Not 100%. But I'm not going to dismiss it. And that's my point here. I'm not going to dismiss the fact that the Queen was a queen. We had to pay certain taxes. And those taxes are there's different reasons why we pay taxes. And the Queen is the head of the state we're in, called England, London, England. And we have to pay our taxes in that state. So the judgment, I would encourage us not to judge. The encouragement here is, let's not judge. Let's respect the fact that the established order is what it is. And we're in this country, let's follow the rules. If we don't want to, don't stop spending the money and leave the country. And I'm not trying to be an advocate for the government, and I'm not trying to say, you know, leave the country as a rule. No, but I'm saying, why not do that? If it bothers you so much, why not? Because hence why the racist debate, I'm in the middle as well, because there's different points people will make, and then everyone could be right, everyone could be wrong. But either way, my point here is if something disturbs you so much, leave it alone. Move as far away from it as possible. Some people be like, oh, you shouldn't have said that, but it's true. If your next door's a noisy neighbor, are you going to go and sit next to their door and listen to their music, or are you going to try to get as far away from it as possible? So, 18 minutes in. I hope I've made sense. If I haven't, again, comments on this video would be welcomed. And I can do other videos, or I could reply to the comments directly. But either way, key thing is, let's not judge. The established order, if you're against it, leave it. If you're a believer, pray for it. And you do your right. You do what you do right. Because again, Lizard Queen, slave driver, racist. She's not my queen, but we still spend her money. Are we forced to? No, because we could leave the country, go to another country where the pound is not the currency, the sterling pound, you know, the British sterling pound. Go to a country where the Queen's head is not on the money. Go to a country where King Charles head is not on the money. Because in about 2-3 weeks time, we're going to start seeing his face on our money that we spend, that we earn. So, hey, what do? Do we sit down, complain, listen to the rumors, or do we go and do our own research and see reasons why it is significant that we acknowledge the Queen has passed, we acknowledge the funeral tomorrow, we acknowledge that she done her service, her 70 years, we respect it, we acknowledge it, we honor it, or we can choose to just ignore it. But let's not judge. Let's not follow what everyone else is saying. Do your own research. find out for yourself why right now I'm not going to bash her, and I may seem more positive about hers because I choose not to bash. I choose to try to see the positive in it and guide us towards, if there is negatives, study it yourself, find out what they exactly are and how does it affect you today. Now, when you find out what affects you, you can then find out how you're going to retaliate. So, we either stop spending our money and we leave the country, or we stay in the country, respect the established order, and pray for it. If we choose not to pray, then fine. But we choose not to be the naysayer, the negative person, the one that's going to spread poison, because that's what it is, because reptile queen and all that. I think that's nonsense in my opinion, but again, I could be wrong. But why would we focus on that and ignore the 70-year reign? Why would we focus on the negatives? We're not going to bash her for what Andrew done, Prince Andrew. We're not going to bash her for people believe that Prince Charles could have treated Princess Diana better. Are we going to bash the Queen for that? Okay, let's look on the other side. She's a controlling queen. And, you know, Prince Charles married, divorced, and that whole situation unfortunately happened with Prince Diana. If she was to punish him, put him in jail, or, you know, Prince Andrew, her son, take the belt and belt him, big man, but belt him, and say, you're going to do 100 years in my prison, you'd still get people that disagree with it. There'd always be someone to say something. That's my point here. It is what it is. Did she do it? No. Did she know about it? Yes. Did she, as a mum, try to support her children? Well, she had every right to. Why shouldn't she? But again, me saying like I'm sticking up for her, but I'm trying to swing it both ways. Let's see, what if she did try to punish him and someone will have something to say? Oh, she's the queen. I thought she was supposed to be peaceful. I suppose she's supposed to be very diplomatic. That's her own children. What mother would do that? You would hear that. Because I've heard that debate. I've heard, well, she should have punished them. And then the next one, yeah, but what mother punishes their children? Well, you discipline your children. You train them. You teach them. But when they're big man and big woman, what can you do? You can't control them. You know? But it's not about when he was Prince Charles and King Charles. Yes, I've touched on that and we'll touch on it a bit more. This is about the Queen. Let's respect her 70-year reign. Let's look at the good she did. Whatever bad she did, let's see it on fact. And let's then decide, are we going to look at what bad she may have done and then forget the 70-year reign and all the good she done in that reign? Does the bad outweigh the good she done? Are we going to judge her for reparations and slave trades and Commonwealth, corrupt Commonwealth and all that, and say she's the one that was responsible for it because she signed documents? Are we going to do that? Or are we going to look at the fact that a lot of what people are calling for reparation for and saying, oh, but she's racist, and all happened before her reign? Majority of it, I should say, probably even all of it. Maybe I'm right to say all of it. But either way, again, it's my opinion. And I encourage people, look at the Moores family. Look at the truth behind the slave trade. You can find it all over the internet, not just YouTube, not just Google. It's all over the internet. There's people who have done a lot of research and they can tell you about the truth behind slavery. And, you know what I mean, the people of the motherland and their tribes went through battles and sold our own to the slave masters. You know, we let it happen. Yeah, some people say they're overpowered, but when you look at the facts of the matter, the Queen's got nothing to do with it. It's the established power at that time. And we're going back hundreds and hundreds of years. We're not going, probably thousands of years as well now, because we are in 2022. The Queen only reigned 70 years. It's the people before her is what I'm trying to say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the people before her. Let's look at what she actually did. And the fact of the matter is, I've been blasted by a family member when I said, well, if it weren't for the Queen, would we actually be in this country if you think of it? I mean, if it weren't for the Commonwealth, would we actually be here? And the question is, do we want to be here? To go on the other side of the wall, I said, well, imagine if they didn't call us up when the war happened and this country was basically obliterated and it was finished. The country was on death's door. And let's imagine if they didn't call us over and we stayed in the Caribbean. I always say the greatest minds of ours, the engineers, the scientists, all the people that went and contributed to the British Empire, if they stayed in their respected countries, you know, the Trinidads, the Dominicas, the St. Lucias, the Jamaicas, the St. Vincents, the Grenadiers, you know, all 22 Caribbean countries of the 21 islands, I should say, but the 22 countries that represent the Caribbean. Imagine if the greatest and the strongest of men stayed back before the Windrush and they didn't come. I would say, imagine a country could have been built up. And if you look at, I know there's a bit of research to do here. Look at Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados in the 1800s. Look at pictures and you see what it looked like. A lot of people are shocked when I show it to them. They were established countries. Again, do your history. Yes, the British and the British Empire and the English government and the royal family before the Queen did the Caribbean wrong. Of course, I hear the argument for reparation. I hear that argument, but look at all the factors in that. What's the Queen got to do with it? Is the question I would ask. Am I an advocate for the Queen? Maybe I am a little. Am I 100% going to support her? Not 100%, no, because again, she was not perfect. She was a part of wrong and probably did wrong. But did she promote it? Did she represent it? Again, she represented her reign. She was queen. And she was a part of the established order before her, is the one that put certain things into place. She didn't ask to go there. She didn't say, right, I'm going to sign up to keep the oppressed oppressed. I'm going to sign up to be racist and, be racist to the blacks. I'm going to sign up to keeping the Commonwealth wealthy at the blood, sweat and tears of people that are slaves. Did she sign that? Did she? No. That we spend her money. Because if she did, then why are we spending her money then? Why don't we go to another country and pour our blood, sweat and tears there? So again, I'm in the middle, maybe swinging more towards the Queen because I'm going to follow what I believe. And I believe when I do read scripture, it says pray for the established order, pray for the authority, pray for the kings and not kings. It says the authority and those in power. Pray for your government. And at the end of the day, yeah, did I say the national anthem? Once or twice I probably sung it. God Save the Queen, yes. Now it's God Save the King. Well, I'm going to pray for them, that they get it right. I'm going to pray for the government, they get it right. But while I'm doing that, am I just going to sit there and do the lizard queen, slavery, reparation? No, I'm going to pray for them, but I'm going to live my life, not judging, not doing that. I'm going to do this. What am I going to do to make a difference? What am I going to teach my children? What am I going to influence my family with? What am I going to do? Let me focus on that. Because that will get me further in life. That will get me happy. That will make me come away from the slavery talk and reparation talk and go through one more. Let me go and claim back some of my money then. Because do the government owe us? Of course they owe us. But that's another debate for another time. But we're here working still. And we've got the choice to pick up a passport and go to our home country and do some good works there. If every Grenadian, Trinidadian, from Guyana, every Dominican, every Jamaican, every Haitian, sorry if I forgot any islands, but if every one of us took £1, put it in a bank, and that bank sat in our home country, think of how rich those countries would be. Point here is, are we going to sit down and complain about what the established order in the past done and we're oppressed and that, or are we going to do something about it? That's another discussion for another time. Coming up to 30 minutes, let me wrap up here. This is the longer version of, I'll do a shorter video where I'll probably ad-lib this video, but this was just in-depth. Hope some people could have taken something from this. Hope it's opened your eyes to certain things, because the long short of it is, again, it's my opinion, but I'm encouraging you, please go and do your own research about the Queen. Go and read about the monarchy. Go and read about the truth about the slave trade. Go and read about the Moors. Go and read about the Arawaks and the Mayans and the Aztecs. These are, tribes from the South Americas and the Caribbean. Why is the Caribbean called the Caribbean? Do your research and you'll see how relevant all people are. Yeah, going back to this whole Black Lives Matter, so all lives matter. Black Lives Matter as well. But go to the heart of why we're all relevant. Go to the heart of, and you realize that her 70-year reign was a very long time for us. Because again, I'm in my 40s. So that's all I've known when I was born, there's a queen on the throne. Imagine if you're 100 right now. Imagine if you're 85 and you're 90. No, sorry, she was 96, wasn't she? But she was queen for 70 years. So so imagine if you are 75 and you were 5 years in and then she came in. Imagine if you're 105, because there are people that live till 100 still. And she wasn't your queen for your whole life, only a portion of it. Let's go back to before the Windrush generation. Let's go back to the 1800s. Imagine those people. Got to think. I've just said I've gone back over 100 years when I'm talking about that on 1800, 1,000 even, you know. So what I'm trying to say here is there was a life before her. There was a life before the Queen. There was life before her and there's life after her. But let's just honour the fact that she served for 70 good years. And they were good years. There were some bad times as well. You know what I mean? Her family went through it, through the ups and downs. But she sat on the throne for 70 years. She visited countries. She's done her duties. At Christmas, we listened to her speeches. And her speeches were scripture ridden. Pull up any one now. If you know your Bible, she either ad-libbed it or she didn't say, okay, in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 6 said, no, but she would ad-lib it. She would factor certain parts of scripture in, because she did represent good. She did it, you know what I mean? Some say mom, say some mama, some say the old dear, some say Lizzie done her job. So yes, I'll say God saved the Queen. And remember, God saved her for 10 and let her get to a ripe old age of 96. After all those years of being married, her husband passed, was it 2 or 3 years ago? Now she's gone to join him. Human being, guys, that's my point here. So I hope I've not been babbling on, I've not been waffling on. I hope you, someone can take something from this, even if you can only take a minute or 2 minutes of what I've said and agree with it, then that at least I've reached someone. But again, I'm not a preacher, not a teacher, not a professor, just good old me sharing an opinion and trying to open our eyes and look at different factors. What you can take from this, let's not judge her. If you're a believer, you know Christ did say he's who is without sin cast the first stone. Can anybody pick up a stone and go and stone the windows of Buckingham Palace? No, you can't, because we're all in the wrong. We've all done certain wrong. We've all done something that we regret, you know. If we are a believer or a Muslim, or you have some belief system that you're a part of and you're righteous, then look into your family. There's going to be wrong there. We're not perfect. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's acknowledge the 70 years she was, you know what I mean? There's many countries. There wouldn't be 96 gun salutes to follow a tradition if she was just a nasty piece of work. You know, because you've got to think, right now when Charles was there, a hurrah was there, street parties, was there celebrations when King Charles came into being king. That's because he's not done what the Queen's done, you know. People will acknowledge him as king, but what I mean, there probably will be a celebration about it. But just to mention King Charles before I leave, watched his mum pass away. His mum passed, he probably watched her body. His mum's passed away. He jumped on the plane, came straight to London and shook people's hands. So there is some good in him, I guess, you know. All right, the whole Diana thing is not good. It's not something to be proud of. I mean, who's going to be proud of divorce? Who's going to be proud that their wife died and they seems to be very distant about it, you know? Did he shed a tear in public? Maybe, maybe not. But a lot of people sour to them. But he's also served his country. He's also done good. So there's two sides to the coin when it comes to King Charles, if you acknowledge him as your king. Think of that, you know? So that's why there probably won't be a massive celebration. That's why he probably won't be accepted by a lot of people. But the people that accept him see the good he's done and take the bad. The people that don't accept him just want to judge him for the not so good he's done. Again, who are we to judge? 33 minutes. I'm going to close this up. I'm going to do a shorter version of this. And we're good to get some comments, get some opinions. I just thought I'd share my thoughts. So yeah, so let's leave it there. This is we're at 33. You know, so why don't we say the national anthem? I'm only joking. No national anthem. You know what I mean? But I will acknowledge him as King Charles, because at the end of the day, that's the established order. That's what's happening now. At the end of the day, he's going to serve. We don't know if it's for 5 or 10 years until his son comes in. Some people saying we hope his son does a better job. He's not even done his job yet. He's done his job as prince and he served. Some people say he served great. Some will say not so great. Some will say good. Some will say bad. He served. He was a prince. What do we, left or right? It's up to you. That's a wrap. Thank you for listening. If you listen to all 34 plus minutes of this, I'd love your opinions. I'd love to hear what people think about what I just said. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching from, whatever time it is, and I bid you a blessed Sunday.